Hello everyone, welcome along to your Thursday night edition of the TII podcast. I almost forgot what day it was there. My name is Craig Dennett and I'm your host this evening as we look across the latest Rangers news and start our build-up towards next week's return to competitive action and the game against Panathinaikos at Ibrox, which I'm very much looking forward to. I'm joined tonight by Iain Mitchell. Iain, how are you doing?
I'm good, mate. Yeah, it's getting pretty close to the real football starting again, so I think we're all quite excited about that. Obviously got Gassama over the line at the start of the week, which was my big worry that we weren't going to do that the more that was rumbling on. So pretty positive. I think things are going quite well. Obviously, we'll see how we are this time next Tuesday night, but right now, yeah, pretty good. Excited.
Yeah, I feel like equal measures excited and nervous at this moment in time. Because,
just the usual there, isn't it?
Yeah. But I think I don't feel entirely comfortable that I know what Rangers look like as a football team so far. I don't feel like normally you've seen a couple of pre-season friendlies by this stage or whatever, and I don't feel like we've had that. Obviously, there's been a few behind closed doors games as well as the Club Brugge game. But how are you feeling on that kind of scale?
I'm the same as you. I wish I'd seen a bit more. Not even from like a comfort side of things, just because we've got quite a few new players who we're probably going to need to rely on early doors. And your first taste of Ibrox in a proper setting being such an important game is pretty worrying for me. Also had the game against Barnsley at the weekend, or just before the weekend, we had the Dunfermline game on Tuesday, I want to say. So they are getting minutes in the legs kind of thing, which can only be a good thing. But atmosphere and sort of the pitch, the size of the stadium, how loud it's going to be, it's all going to be very new to quite a few of them. And don't get me wrong, there's probably too many people in that squad who have had a fair few good nights at Europe and at Ibrox, so there's experience in there. But yeah, it could be quite eye-opening for a few of them. I just hope they rise to that rather than going the opposite way, obviously.
Yeah, I think it's one of those things you just never know how people are going to react to different situations. You see players arrive and they're fine in European games, but they struggle domestically. That also works the other way around as well. You're just never quite sure how they're going to adapt to the atmosphere. And make no doubt about it, there's going to be a lot of expectation at Ibrox when that first whistle goes against Panathinaikos. And if it's a bit disjointed or if it's a bit off kilter and it's not quite working and not quite gelling, I think it'll be interesting to see what the reaction is as we kind of go towards that and as we get closer to that. Tonight is the deadline. I'm not entirely sure what time exactly, but tonight we're speaking
11 p.m. I think it is.
11 p.m. is it? The Thursday night. Tonight is the deadline for the squad to be submitted. There can be 2 changes made between now and match day. I think there'll probably be plenty of players in that squad that we weren't necessarily expecting to be there, Iain. But are you a bit disappointed that there's not been more transfer activity this week in the build-up to this game?
It's a hard one because I think at this point in time the squad is so bloated that we actually need players out the door. I don't mean that from like a financial sense. I don't think we're like cash strapped or anything with this investment that's come out. It's not like last season where we had to get players and wages out to be able to afford incomings. This is just more a quantity thing for me, because you look at that squad, like there's 5 or 6 centre backs who shouldn't be there, let alone every other position.
I think there seems to be, going by reports, there does seem to be effectively 2 groups that are training. There's a group that Russell Martin believes is part of his squad going forward, and then there's the group which probably includes a lot of the players that you would expect it to include that are just training separately and aren't involved in the main training sessions as such with the squad. That must be really demoralising and disheartening if you're a footballer and you're just off to the side at another pitch. I think we spoke about, it wasn't with yourself, but it was Ridvan's changing number, meaning he was off beside the janitor's closet kind of thing, and you must feel so isolated, I guess, and so I guess the purpose of it is to get you out of the club, but it must just be so disheartening.
It is, but I quite like how we've done it this year, because yes, that's kind of leaked out. There's 2 groups, but nobody knows who's in like Group A or Group B, whatever it is. Whereas if you remember last season, it was very much like Cantwell was the main one, wasn't he? Like he's not playing for me again. You're not playing. It's just a player's value plummets when that happens. So if you think it's guys like McCausland, we've seen rumoured linked away, Ridvan, I don't know if Bedrami's maybe in that as well, but there's guys in there who, maybe done at Rangers, but we're not making that evident to the public, which I think is pretty smart at this point. It keeps some kind of value in these guys, even if they're absolutely done at Ibrox either way.
Yeah, I think that's fair. Robin Cropper will be in there as well, I imagine, as he stalls on his move to 20 still. I saw a lot of people giving him stick, actually, for trying to get the sort of difference for his wages, but I think anyone would do that. It's weird that footballers are held to a different standard to everyone else, especially guys like Robin Cropper, who have made an okay living out of football, but he's not raking in millions and millions and millions of pounds all the time. So it's a bit of a strange one. It's our fault for signing him to the contract we did. So a bit of a strange one there. But are you expecting any surprises in the squad? I guess the one area for me that looks a bit light at the moment is obviously the wingers. And you might see the likes of, I guess, a Kieran Dowell potentially playing wide right, or we might see a Ross McCausland in the squad, even though he's rumoured to be in that sort of second training group as such. Where are you expecting any surprises or any? What names are you expecting that might stick out?
Yeah, I think the whole homegrown, like Rangers trained, Scotland trained thing is quite important here, because that's why, as you say, McCausland could get the nod over someone. I expect Robbie Fraser to be in it ahead of Ridvan, just because like the homegrown Scottish, obviously no Ridvan's linked away. I would think Fraser's like the backup or even third choice left back in this squad. So little ones like that I wouldn't be shocked at. We've seen Josh Gentles involved in a lot of the pre-season. Again, he could get a slot in there. Beyond that, there's a couple of ones that for me are maybe player A or player B. Like I don't think Bedrami and Cameron are going to make the squad. I think maybe one of the two of them kind of thing. But we could probably pick maybe 20 of that squad. It's just going to be a bit of the fringe players that I think will be the major shocks. And that's the thing with this team right now. I think there's a good first 11 there. There's a good team on paper that I would think and expect to go through. But an injury or two, obviously we heard Aasgaard might have a knock. I think that's been a bit blown out of proportion from what I'm reading. But if a couple more players got injured between now and Tuesday night, we would be pretty thin on the ground in terms of actual quality you want in there. But first 11 wise, I think we'll just get by quite fine.
Yeah, I think on the Aasgaard point, as I heard Joshua Barry on the Rangers Review talking about that he's still to go for a scan on the knock that he's received, if they think in training, maybe in the game against Barnsley, but it doesn't seem like they're doing it too urgently, which I think is probably says as much in itself about how worried they are about it. But we always seem, again with injuries, I guess we always seem to get excited about a player when he first arrives, and then he's got to wait that bit longer when he comes to injured. Do you think he'd definitely be one that I'd be excited to see if in the starting lineup or even playing, because this is going to be the first time we get a real sight of these guys.
Yeah, 100%, especially Aasgaard, because we're all seeing the comments and little clips of different media here and there that he's the one that's kind of standing out a little bit more than the rest. I don't know if it's the stature of the guy and how good he is with the ball at his feet. It doesn't usually correlate those two things. So the fact he's 6'2" and can keep the ball really close, he's got that kind of skill and craft about him. It's really exciting. It's a player profile, let alone anything else he's going to do. So, yeah, I was quite disappointed that he's injured, but I might be injured, obviously. I need to stress that. But at the same time, that I think we talked about Sunday night, central midfield is pretty strong just now. There's probably 5 or 6 options in there we'd all be quite happy to see. So I guess if there's going to be one position that gets a knock, that might not be the worst one. I think there's a few different areas that if we got a knock there, we're in deep trouble kind of thing. So not a concern for me. I'm pretty sure he'll be involved somewhere or other next Tuesday.
Yeah, I think that's fair. It'll be interesting to watch that one. William here saying they'll be waiting for the swelling to go down before they do a scan. That's standard procedure. That's fair. Just it's a bit of a concern if it's taking a while for the swelling to go down, I guess, because then you're closer and closer to the game. There's people are commenting about Iain Hagi. I wasn't expecting that name to pop up in the comments tonight, but there was also rumours that Iain earlier in the week, potentially end of last week, I've lost track of time, that Iain Hagi had kind of offered himself back to the club at a cut price rate. Is it something you would think about or something you would consider?
Absolutely not. No. Don't get me wrong, I was on this podcast a lot last season saying that I like Hagi, he offers something different, but we do need to move on from certain players eventually. And for me, Hagi's not an upgrade on anything that's in that squad just now, albeit we are so light in certain areas, winger especially. Hagi isn't a winger. Hagi shouldn't ever have been a winger. For me, this is all just his agent or his dad just trying to get his name out there so that other clubs then sort of take the gamble on Hagi, because as far as he's still injured as well, like a really bad injury towards the end of last season. I don't imagine he's going to be,
to be honest,
could come in and be fit. So for me, it's a bit desperation on his camp, try to get like the classic Rangers link to then instigate some kind of move elsewhere. I would be shocked and not very happy if Hagi came back through the door at this time.
Yeah, I think that's very fair. Up front is the area that's concerning me the most at the moment. I think the fact that neither Dessers nor Igaman have appeared in any pre-season friendlies, not even played a minute. I don't see Danilo being the answer against a team like Panathinaikos. I guess we don't really know what kind of team Panathinaikos are. They've got the reputation, they've got the name, but they struggled in the Conference League last year. So I guess that kind of shows what level they were at last season. Always difficult to tell. But in terms of the forward line, how are we going to get the goals that we need to get us through?
It's a great question, because I'm the same. I'm a bit worried about it. It was good to at least see Danilo get a goal against Dunfermline and 3 assists I saw as well. That's got to do no harm for the confidence. Obviously scored at the weekend as well. So he has had some kind of form. You've got to try and back yourself when you're like that. But if we are granting these two legs, with Danilo being like the main man, that's got to be concerning. And don't get me wrong, Danilo is a very good player. He's a very clever player. He links up very well. And it could be the fact that it's a Diomande or an Aasgaard that gets us the goals with those kind of forward runs we're expecting to see a bit more now. But we do hope and pray that Igaman and Dessers are involved. And even if they're involved, we know they're not going to be that sharp. We saw how long it took Igaman to get going last year. We know Dessers kind of been halfway out the door a few times already this summer. So how much is his head and heart going to be in it? It's always a worry. So it's not ideal. At least, though, we have signed Gassama, who's another attacking threat. Like, it's something very different. And don't get me wrong, I wouldn't be shocked if he doesn't start on Tuesday night, just for the fact he's just came in the door. He's going to need to know his teammates and styles and this kind of thing. But it does give you that something different. Pace, it gives you power, it gives you legs, it gives you something for Panathinaikos to be worried about. Because if we're going into that game with, just for example, Danilo up front, Dowell on the right, and Cortez or Curtis on the left, I'm not expecting loads of goals from that 3. At least Gassama will give you a bit more difference, and it could be the key on the night. Yeah,
I think it's going to be really interesting, actually, and I think we spoke a bit earlier on about being equal parts excited and nervous about Tuesday night, and it's one of those ones. It's like similar to when we played like the likes of Malmo and stuff like that a few years ago. You just don't know what team is going to turn up on either side, and that's. I'm not sure I enjoy that as much as I probably should, but it's it's just it's a difficult one to gauge, a difficult one to predict. Does it feel like it's still too early? Still a bit too early for us?
For me, it is. Yeah. Again, it's hard because we can't judge it. They've trained pretty well as far as comments go. You look at the clips, and it's very high intensity. It's very what you want to see, but training doesn't really mean anything when the game starts. If you look at each sort of level of the team, defence worries me, left back worries me, centre back worries me. Again, Suter could leave at any moment, and again, that's just a massive span on the works. We've talked about the wings already, we've talked about the forwards already, so even goalkeeper is a worry for me as well right now. So I can't then say, I'm confident we'll do fine here, but I do think what you said right at the start was very key. Panathinaikos are a big name. I don't think they're the team that they were like 15, 20 years ago. I don't think they've got many star players. They've got 1 or 2 very good players, don't get me wrong, and by all means could be eating my words this time next week, but I don't think they're the best team we're going to face the last few years. I think we can certainly hold our own, certainly at Ibrox, and if you get a good solid win, suddenly this kind of anxious feeling we've got flips completely, and you've got, right, here we go, this is something promising here. I think that's the key. As long as we see some style, some substance, and then get a couple of goals, like that's all we really need to this time of the season. And again, just hopefully we've got a good position to go over to Greece the week after, because that would be a very tough, very warm, very difficult night for the players. So next Tuesday's key to get a decent result, going over there.
Yeah, obviously we're the seeded team and we're playing home first, which confused me a little bit compared to previous seasons. But how important a factor do you think that will be?
It's funny because Europe, especially, this team does tend to surprise you. And, we're talking about a few new signings in the door, a few new players who haven't been here. But you think of like a Diomande, Raskin, Tav, Agaman. These guys have probably saved some of the best performances for Europe over the last year or two. So they do get up for it. They do kind of rise to the level. The one thing that's a bit, again, unusual here is the fact that we knew Clement was good in Europe. We knew Gerrard was good. Gio was obviously sensational in Europe. Russell Martin's style maybe goes away from all that, which we probably needed for a while. We need to be better domestically, and I get all that, and I'm all for that. But if you're playing that open, expansive way in Europe, sometimes that's kind of setting yourself up for a loss or a tough night, whereas before we're a bit more rigid, a bit more structured, and it was very safe, and we'd maybe hit teams. I don't see a Russell Martin team ever playing on the counter like that, so that's a wee interesting one. Maybe not so much for Panathinaikos, because I think on paper, and maybe it's just the kind of blue specs on, but I think on paper we are a better team, like 1-11 than Panathinaikos. Again, I don't watch a lot of Greek football. There's probably some guy in the comments who can keep me right there, but it's more for like if we got through and you're facing like a Benfica, a Club Brugge, a team of proper like quality throughout.
Yeah,
that for me is where Russell Martin team could get picked apart. That could be a very tough watch for us. But if it then works domestically, I'm not going to care about Europe, to be honest. So we'll see how that plays out over the next season.
Yeah, well, Rangers on tour here saying according to football data site we have a 50%. I'll start that one again. A 57% probability of progression. Last year they gave us an 8% chance to beat Fenerbahce. I don't know. I guess does that mean their stats aren't good, or that we outperformed ourselves when against Fenerbahce? I'm not really sure what that means, but I'll take a 57% win probability, a progression probability as it is from there. Let's go on to some of the rumours. I guess we spoke about firepower, Iain, and one rumour that has been circulating for a wee while now and doesn't seem to be going away. It's been confirmed today that he will be a free agent very shortly from Sheffield Wednesday. His name is Josh Windass, familiar to everyone. He was obviously with us before, fairly inconsistent, I think it's fair to say, when he was with us, but managed to score goals. He knew where the back of the net was. He's gone down to Sheffield Wednesday. I think he's improved as a player since he's been down there. I think he's found his role in teams, I think it's fair to say, when he's been there, and he's been delivering season after season for them. Is he one that would interest you, or do you think is it one of those ones you can't get Josh Windass? It's kind of similar to Russell Martin. You can't get the first Josh Windass out your head to get on board with the second one.
Yeah, I'm not really loving the hype. I've seen a few people mention a very solid point that he probably offers more to you in a squad member than certain other squad members. But for me, that just kind of points to how bad some of our squad options are, rather than like, oh, Windass a good signing kind of thing. And he's a free. He would be pretty cheap wages, I would think. I don't imagine he's lost any of that pace, despite being in his 30s now. He's still very quick. He's a much better footballer, like you say, than he was when he was here. But it just doesn't excite me. And not every signing can. I totally understand that. But I think if we're in a position where we sold another 5, 6, 7 of that squad, and like Adele was out the way, maybe Matondo was out the way, these kind of guys who are still in the building, then I could see it making a bit of sense. And it might be one you see maybe later in the window if that kind of thing does happen. But I just can't get my head around it, to be honest. I didn't love him when he was here in terms of what he was doing as a player, but it's just not when I'm going to get excited. I want a different profile all round. I want like young, exciting players. I know he's got a bit of experience and you need that in a squad, but that squad has enough experience that I don't think a Josh Windass mentality helps that, to be honest. I just can't get on board with it at all.
Yeah, it's one of those ones where I guess maybe people might be putting 2 and 2 together and getting 5, but the fact that there's been a lack of new rumours this week, I don't know if that's a good thing or a bad thing or what that is. We obviously seen beforehand that we signed players when the first we heard of them was 24 hours beforehand. Yep. So far, that tends to be the way it's gone this summer. Do you reckon this is just a bit of agent talk, similar to the Hagi one, where potentially just trying to get his name out there and get people talking about him?
Exactly that. And it's good agent work. That's what their job is to do. It's to get this conversation going. It's to get the name of Windass trending. And you'll notice when you link any player to Rangers, we jump all over it, whether it's someone we've never heard of, someone local to us. The Jamie Vardy one was another decent example of that. It's just agents and paper talk that then links the name with Rangers, and suddenly it blows up. And from the player and agent's point of view, that's a great thing, because then other clubs will say, well, they want him, we want him, let's pay a bit more, so we definitely get him. It's absolute football politics, but it's what they should be doing. It's what they need to do for these guys. So I'm not going to slate it in any way. And again, I think it's just a very easy rumour to make. Obviously, there was that article from Russell Martin's time at Southampton, I think, when he was interested in Windass and came out saying he's a great player, he would suit what I do kind of thing. So again, very easy clickbait headlines in there of Russell Martin liking him already. So I hope it's one that just dies down. He goes and gets his move somewhere else and we can move on, because the fan base obviously were quite against Russell Martin, I think you have to say. We sat in this pod when it was announced and it was chaos in his comments of people not happy about it. I think things like that aren't going to do Russell Martin any favours, especially if we do have a tough game or two at the start here. So it doesn't make enough sense to me to take that risk.
What moves do you think Russell Martin could make that would do him favours?
It's a great question. See, if he dropped Tav, I think he would get a lot of plaudits. And I'm saying that knowing that Tav is not getting dropped anytime soon and probably doesn't deserve to. I think he still gets something to offer this squad. But me seeing like Max Aarons play left back is starting to annoy me, because yes, it could be temporary. Yes, it's maybe Jeff took an injury, who knows, kind of thing. But I'm quite annoyed at bringing in a player who I think is an upgrade in a certain position, but you sort of shoehorn him in elsewhere to like keep Tav, for example. And this, again, there's been enough like Tav hate the last 24 hours because of a video on Twitter, which is just insane. But little things like that, like being bold, being brave, is a big thing I think Russell Martin does in his style of play. He just also has to do it with certain players. And don't get me wrong, if Tav starts the season well and carries on, perfect, that's what we all want. But if there is an issue there, same with Butland, maybe same with Dessers, a few guys have the same sort of situation where, as a fan base, we all know these guys have let us down at times, not individually speaking, just more collectively. But if they then continue to do that, it's probably going to end one way for Russell Martin. And that's, I'm saying this before he kicked a competitive ball, but as soon as Butland's first mistake happens, Dessers' first sitter, Tav's first like sleeping at the back post, these kind of things that we've seen for years now, you can't have that carry on, and that's where I'd want Russell Martin to be brave. And then I think you'll get that like support from the fans that he is trying something different.
Yeah, Paul McGarrigle says stop shoehorning players into positions just because of who they are. Yeah. I think that's very fair. Would you make a look, Gibson 97 here saying, I think we will waste the Max Aarons loan deal. He'll be played out of position and then go back to Bournemouth, and we'll be stuck with a 34-year-old has-been. Is that the concern? Is that the worry? As we see more and more of Max Aarons, I guess we're reading so much into highlights of games that are behind closed doors. That's and all that sort of stuff. So, but is that a concern of yours?
It's got to be. Yeah, I mean, for all we know, I mean, as you say, we've not seen a full 90 minutes properly here. This could be Max Aarons playing at left back so that he can switch into midfield and we go to a back three. There could be all this movement going on that we don't see in a 5-minute highlight package. But it's my big worry for these first two friendly lineups that you saw. You see the lineup, you go through in your head going, okay, he's right back, he's there. If you see Tav and Aarons, it's like, well, why have we brought a guy in who we all think is an upgrade, we all think can be pretty special, this league especially, and we all know Tav's best years are behind him. Maybe there's a backup role for him that should be, but you can't be shoehorning a guy in who would be an upgrade here just because your left back area is weak, which we all know it is. Again, there could be a left back coming in that then just reverts it all back to type. But you go back to like the rumour chat, there's no left back chat anymore. The Owen Beck stuff died down. The guy on loan from Chelsea that was rumoured hasn't gone anywhere. It's all gone very quiet in terms of left back, and that's probably the biggest worry for me other than wingers. So yeah, if the idea was bringing Aarons in to just makeshift left back, it's going to catch up to you across the course of a season.
I do really wonder how much success against Panathinaikos will start to drive a lot more activity. Like I think, because if we do that, we're guaranteed group stage European football, aren't we? So, and then I think that then opens up a different market to people. Fair enough, as fans, we may want to focus more on the domestic game. We may want to, our interest mine definitely is on winning the league title this season. Yep. I feel like we've done enough in Europe the past few years I'd much rather be focused on winning the league title and winning domestic trophies this season than in Europe. But players think the other way around, don't they? Players want to play in the European competitions. They want to play against other big teams. They want to get that platform. Do you think that's potentially going to open up some more doors for us if we do get past that first qualifier?
100%. Yeah, I was thinking of this today actually because, like you just said, we're all focused on the league. I don't think anyone is really bothered about how Europe goes this year, but if you do get through Panathinaikos, if you get through the third qualifier, which would probably go into his favourites as well, probably on paper anyway, and then you do well in that fourth one, if you get in the Champions League and suddenly open the door to 40, 50, 60 million pounds coming through the door, that completely changes the transfer strategy. Like, flips on its head, because suddenly you can pay multiple millions for a left back, you can get another winger, you can get the striker in, and suddenly those sales that we're kind of relying on in terms of doing that right now aren't so vital and don't matter so much. So I can see the thinking of doing that, but again, we've talked about it. Russell Martin needs a strong start. He needs a very good start domestically, especially. And the Motherwell game is, it's a while away now, but that'll come round. A few weeks' time, it'll come round very quickly. So if you, for example, have a tough start in Europe and don't get past Panathinaikos or don't get past the next round, I would want the business and deals to be done then, so that the Motherwell game, you've got your close to first 11. I don't fancy waiting until like the end of August, start of September to get in a couple more players, because I'm not saying the leagues will be done at that point, obviously, but if you suddenly fall 3, 4, 6 points behind a Celtic team, we've saw over the course of the last few years, we don't tend to catch them, do we? So we need to do business quick, whether that's Europa budget or that Champions League budget. Yeah,
I think it's imperative that we don't drop any early points in the league.
Not the run we have as well. The run's pretty favourable, has to be said, compared to what they've got. So if you do fall behind them, knowing you've got like the tough, I think, is it December into January is horrendous fixture-wise. They're away to like the top 4 or 5 from last season. So it could get very tricky very quick if we don't start smart.
Absolutely. One area of concern, or was a concern last season, was goalkeeper. We spoke last week about the guy whose name I forget, but I remember as a FIFA sounding regen.
Carl.
Carol, his first name was Carol, that's right. But that seems to have died down quite a bit, and we have been linked today with 19-year-old Sheffield Wednesday goalkeeper. Seems to be going back there a fair amount, and we've seen the opportunity with their current situation. But Pierce Charles is the goalkeeper that we reported really interested in. Josh Windass was on open goal. I can't remember some point recently where he said he would be surprised if Pierce Charles didn't end up at a huge club like Juventus or Barcelona at some point in his career, which I guess is some kind of going review. But I think
strange couple of clubs in it, like Juventus. Very Windass. That's what I mean. It's a strange boy.
Yeah, they are. It's very strange. What do you make of being linked to a 19-year-old goalkeeper? It doesn't suggest he'll come in as a starter. We already have Liam Kelly there. Jack Butland's kind of hanging around. It's a bit of a strange link, isn't it?
It is. I think if you look at like the profile of goalkeeper, and I'm not going to sit and say I've watched a lot of the guy, so it's just more like kind of reading a bit of reports. He's very good with his feet. He suits a ball-playing team who play it from the back, which I don't think Butland does at all. Kelly, maybe slightly, but it seems to be a level above what they two are. So I get that side of it, but for me, it's a risky one, because the goalkeepers we've always had have always been like in their prime or maybe just beyond their prime, very much professionals, like seasoned veterans at that point. So it's strange bringing a goalie quite like Wes Fotheringham type, untested, good about his feet, but at the end of the day, we need you to make saves. So it's going to depend how good they are at that. But I said on Sunday night, I don't think we can go for this style of play with Russell Martin with a Jack Butland. It just doesn't make enough sense. I think there's enough worries there. Like, again, I said it before, as soon as there's an error or he drops the ball or puts one in his net, people are going to be saying, we told you this, we knew he wouldn't be good enough. It's like people are waiting for that moment to have a go at Butland again, which I get, it's natural, it's going to happen. So I think we do need a freshness there. It's just whether a 19-year-old can come in. And it's not as if he's played the full season there for Sheffield Wednesday. He came in for the last 7 or 8 games. He's got a handful of non-island caps as well. So he's got a little bit of experience. But to be number one at Rangers, it's a lot of the mindset thing. You're doing nothing for 89 minutes and have to make a save. And if you don't, it's your fault. So It's a lot of mentality pressure at Rangers, and I don't see how a 19-year-old comes into that setting as number one. Would love to be wrong. I think it would be really good to bring in a young up-and-coming goalie who suits a Russell Martin style. Absolutely makes a lot of sense in that way. But I would expect him to come in to maybe go back out on loan to maybe see if he's ready next summer. But whether that means we're going for a Butland for a season, I wouldn't be too buzzing about that, to be honest.
Yeah, that's very fair. Let's end with this comment from Ollie Channel. Says, we will need patience this year. I believe we will really struggle until we hit October. Where have we heard that before? Hope I'm wrong, but the squad is all over the place. Do you think there will be patience, Iain? Yeah, I don't think there will be either. To be honest,
I would love there to be. I would love us to all sit and casually warm into something and see building blocks, but we're so desperate and craving for success that if we draw that opening game at Motherwell, we're all going to be raging. Like it's just natural, and that's what makes our club so special and so great. The standards are so high. Russell Martin's very aware of that. I know that from talking to the guy on his first day when he was here. So I know he knows he has to win games. He has to win games well, make the fast start. I think it gets blown out of proportion a little bit because if we, like, say you win your first 8 out of 10 games kind of thing, a wee draw in there, we're not going to go insane, but that's like the worst case scenario. Anything beyond that is unthinkable. So you need a good start. We talked about how it's a decent start to the season compared to what we've had to go through before. Just build that momentum. And I'm sure the squad, like again, the comment about the squad there was spot on. It's a bit of a mess now. We've got two groups training separately, which says it all. There's too much dross in there. But if you get the squad right, if you make a good start, there's no reason. Like last season, for example, we didn't lose the league because of how we do against Celtic. We're better head-to-head than them. It's all those other games. It is those games where you slip up, you go to sleep, you go up a Wednesday night up north or something and drop points. That's what we tend to do. So fix that problem, and Russell Martin will be a hero in no time.
There you go. Heard it here first. A hero in no time. Right. Thank you very much, Iain, for joining us tonight. Remember, shorter podcasts during the week and then the hour-long podcast on a Sunday evening. Thank you very much, everyone, for joining us. If you enjoyed the podcast, please do make sure you subscribe to TII YouTube channel or wherever you get your audio podcasts. It means you won't miss out on any of the upcoming content we've got, which will only increase as the games come thick and fast. Also means you'll get notified every time a new podcast goes live or is uploaded. But thank you very much, everyone, for listening. Until next time. Goodbye.